the young, distinguished gentleman from
And
Oklahoma.
as I make, first of all, again, thank my friend very much. And I think he stated exactly right, and that's exactly what this bill is about. And I say this speaking only for myself, not speaking for tribes or anybody else, but just so my colleagues know. And this is where you do get into historical records. In fact, just a few years ago, an issue along involving river bottom land in eastern Oklahoma. The Cherokees, the Choctaws, and the Chickasaws took which was held in private hands. There were 7,000 different private landowners who had acquired the property in good faith, and in many cases has held it for generations, not unlike the situation we find on the Red River. In that case, it turned out that the federal government had given up land that it was not theirs to give, that even under the Dawes Commission, that land had remained in tribal hands, and that was then sold. The tribes in question took the federal government to court. They did not want to take land from the individual landowners who had acted in good faith. They won a $40 million settlement against the federal government, which was divided. 2 years ago, we had a case where the federal government had sold timberland at the time, again, the Dawes Commission, southeast Oklahoma. They were supposed to provide a proper accounting, and frankly, the land was supposed to be held in trust. And that was a case that involved the Chickasaws and the Choctaws, and the federal government, not the individual landowners, who again had acted in good faith. The federal government had to pay $140 million. And a few years before that, the federal government, looking at what had happened with oil production in Osage County over many years, had to pay the Osage Nation $380 million for not guarding the property rights. So I'm not suggesting that a lawsuit's coming. I'm not speaking for the tribes. But there is a component here, the federal government, which has not historically always acted in good faith. And again, the courts have increasingly gone back, and frankly, Congress did essentially the same thing in the Cobell decision in terms of settling with tribes on the mismanagement of tribal land. So this will help us get at the truth. And I don't, again, pretend to know the precise nature of, Comanche claims and the other tribes, the Kiowas and Arapahoes in this case, but just always keep that in mind when we put too much faith in what the federal government has done historically, because in these cases, it's historically often done the wrong thing. And to its credit in recent years, or to the credit of the courts in many cases, we've gone back and tried to rectify it without damaging the rights of individual landowners who, again, operated in good faith. So I don't see this as a conflict. I see my friend is trying to move us, as he always does, toward an acceptable resolution. And believe me, the tribes in question, and certainly the two states in question, are more than capable of taking care of themselves and guarding their respective interests. I know they'll do it in good faith. I know they'll try to work out this. We generally do as friends and neighbors, and I want to thank my friend for moving us in that direction. But I do want to just add that historical context from a tribal standpoint. And I do want to always point out that the federal government is usually the root of this problem and usually has been willing to pay for this problem. And hopefully the problem doesn't exist here, or there's a way to do it. I'm not arguing, but just want to make that point. So let's not always rely on the good working of the federal government over time. Many of my constituents, and not just my native governments, don't have a healthy trust in the federal government right now. So yield back.